Afternoon.
Hi, Gigi.
What's up?
How much does the first meeting against these guys where the defense played so well help you in this one, or is it totally clean slate?
Each week you start over, but definitely because it's such a short period of time since we played them. So, familiarity with the first whatever many games, 8 or 9 games, and then getting caught up on the last few plus our game. So it helps a little bit, especially when you're going back on certain situations like, backed up when you're doing the whole season, red area when you're doing the whole season. You have some familiarity with it, so you're not starting over with like 50 plays that you got to look at. So, but definitely helps.
What did you see, though, from that tape, I guess, from the first game, too, from your defense, why they were so successful?
I think they knew the plan on a short week. I think I spoke about that when we spoke after that. They knew the plan. They were aware of how Coach Payton moves around their people. They do a good. He's the best in the business at using his people in their roles. The guys understood that, and I think situationally, we had some really good awareness situationally. Whether it was 1st and 10, P and 10, the get back on track situations, the red area, we had some awareness there. So those are all positives, and I'm trying to think back to the tackling numbers. Usually when we play good defenses because we tackled, better. So I think the tackling was much improved there too.
There was 2 third down plays last week against LA where it's like I think Max tried to bring pressure from the middle linebacker spot, and I think you also had like Adam Butler and Leaky drop back in coverage on the third down play. I was curious what went into those decisions for those 2 plays in particular.
What we thought was best for the play situation.
He's getting some reps. You just talk about, I understand he's a rookie and rookies make rookie mistakes, but just his maturation, could you talk about him, please?
The biggest thing, he's doing a good job in practice. I've spoken about it before. Those guys learning that people can actually block you at this level. The thing, I wanted from him is just to go, just be active. He's such a physical presence in terms of his athleticism, his balance, his strength. So to me, again, his position coach and I want to hear this, but I'm less concerned about him being in the right gap all the time. I'd just rather a big physical guy like that go. That might be anti-coaching, but just right now, as he's learning to play, just go. I want him to go. Just want him to go.
When you look at somebody like Greedy Vance, he doesn't maybe necessarily look like an NFL player. He's kind of smallish. I'm sure he's dealt with it. I know he's told me that he's dealt with that kind of all his life. But what is it about him that you guys saw? Going all the way back to when he first got here, that's helped get him to this point.
Well, this league, a bunch of players, they all come in different shapes and sizes. We all know that. But the thing that stands out about him from his tape, and then when you get to meet him, we met him on I can't remember if it was the pro day or what have you. He's very competitive, and that stands out, whether it's something going on in the meeting room, whether it's out here at practice, and then, you saw him in coverage situations in the game. He's a very competitive football player, and we cherish that trait.
Bo Nix seems to hit another gear, particularly in the fourth quarter. That's what's kind of helped them win these close games. Just why do you think it's like Bo Nix and that offense has been so effective in those late stage situations?
Again, just so impressed with the process that they've used with the quarterback. And again, Coach Payton is one of the best in the business, play calling. When you watch the second halves of the games, it's no different than when you're going against Andy Reid and those guys. They just, sometimes you're just trying to get out. You're like, he's on my ass right now. So I think it's a combination of the player, again, but also being led by the coach in terms of the play calling. Some of those fourth quarter play call selections and the dilemmas and the predicaments they place the defense in based on what they've seen. He's one of the best in the business to do it. So you got to be prepared for that.
These last couple of weeks, Malcolm Koonce started to be a little bit more active, get a couple of sacks. Would you attribute that to him kind of now being fully healthy from that injury, or just the game plan opening that for him?
I think really when you talk about sacks, most of the time it's coming from a combination of coverage and pressure. So I think he'd probably be the first one to tell you he's got to be thinking the guys behind him cover. So that's one thing, and then more sacks are made in terms of just relentless pursuit to the ball. Like you talk about the one in Cleveland where he took it up high, countered back. That was, effort play. So, like, again, the health thing, you have to talk to him about that because, when he's up, he's up. But I think it's a combination of the coverage. I think it's a combination of just that relentless pursuit and maybe getting more comfortable and just, again, as we accumulate games, we have more awareness of what they're doing because nothing really changes that much. So, but he's an aware football player.
Got a couple of young linebackers in Eichenberg and Lindenberg who have, made plays on special teams. What's the next step for them to start getting on the field and playing defensive?
Young, especially at that position, I think, since I've been in the league, young linebackers, a lot of times they learn how to play in the NFL through special teams. So, go back to my history. Jamie Collins, his first year, mostly special teams. Then, all of a sudden he becomes an all-pro linebacker. I didn't have Blake when he was younger, but Blake Martinez, he started off in special teams, then he becomes, an elite linebacker in the league. So they learn how to play our game. Then I think it's about being comfortable being in the huddle because, in college they don't have that. So, standing in front of 10 other men, making the call, them expecting you to be able to put them in the right spot. So they learn that from special teams, I think, and I think they do a good job here of preparing them. And then, then you try to find ways to get them in the game plan and keep feeding them that way. And then all of a sudden now you got a full-time player.
Do you feel like they're moving in that direction?
I hope that's the aim for me. You want the young people to improve, The more guys you have competing for starting spots that are that caliber player on your roster, that's when the roster gets real competitive. That's when, you start talking about when the roster is really competitive and you have starter caliber players. I mean, now you're starting to roll with it.
Caillou is a ball hawk, and he's a young kid. He'll take some risks, but you like that edge, go attack, don't you?
Yeah, I like Caillou's play style. Again, I've spoken about before, his resiliency. Bunch of teams in and out of the lineup, stuff like that, but just go play and go snatch the ball. And then, Flo used to say it all the time, when you're down there in the red area, something screwed up happened. So, really now you're measuring your mental toughness. And so to stop the play on the 2-yard line, keep fighting for every blade of grass, and then have an interception last week, that was a positive. That was definitely a positive.
On the back end of that, what do you think has been the biggest area of improvement in Caillou's game, especially as he's still kind of in this competition with Darian?
The ball skills are there. The toughness is there in terms of tackling, and then mental toughness is definitely there. I would think line of scrimmage, in terms of his line of scrimmage, his technique at the line of scrimmage, buying into the technique that, Joe and those guys are teaching, that we're teaching, and buying into that and having success with it, being able to stay on top of routes, get your hands on receivers, and doing it the way we want it to be done. It's impressive how he's worked towards that.
Patrick, you're playing a lot of rookies in this class, and there's growing pains with that. But overall, this class in general, how happy are you with their maturation?
They do a good job from day one when they got here of following the line. You got a group of them in the front. So again, I think just naturally they're around Max a lot and AB, E-Rob and Cal. So they got good leaders there. So okay, you want to see how it's done. They've all done it at a high level, been real productive. So they just kind of just, hey, if you have questions, ask them. And then on the back end, Darian's real steady, and real steady, works his craft, so, and Greedy, same thing. Those guys are hard workers and they're good listeners. I would say that. They're definitely good listeners too.
Let's do one more. Vinny. All good? Okay.
All good? Thank you.
Thanks, PG. Hey, buddy. Greg, when you looked at Caleb Muffy, both those guys, when I watched the film back again, seemed to, good things. They did a lot of good things. What was your thought on those two, please?
Yeah, same opinion that you have, and again, we'll continue to rotate those guys this week, or we have been in practice, and let them compete. But I thought it was good to see Caleb out there as a rookie. Muffy's obviously played before, but got a chance to rotate Caleb in there and did some good things. So we're pleased with that.
With a young player like Caleb, is it just about being able to get some positive film to get him some confidence?
Well, no question, and he's going every day, like I said, against our number one defense. So he gets that work in practice, but it's a different, to me, atmosphere when you get out there on game day. So I think anytime you can play in a regular season game, that the competition steps up and the level of play steps up across the ball. So it was good, and I think he'll benefit from it.
Third downs have been an issue this year. Is there anything that you can pinpoint that now that you're calling plays that can maybe put you in better position for conversions here?
Well, it always starts with protection first. So we're, big emphasis on the protection part of it, but everyone's involved in it. Like I said last week, whether it's, running better routes or the quarterback getting the ball out on time or the running backs making sure they're involved in their part of the protection or the pass receiving. So all involved in it, but just always trying to find ways, protect it up first, and then get the ball in the hands of your playmakers.
Ashton and I talked to DJ as well. They both said something you're really good at is being able to set up plays kind of like down the line throughout the game. When you're going up against a defense like the one that Denver has, how important is it for you to evaluate not necessarily what you're calling, but when you're supposed to call in situations?
I think every game presents that issue. Obviously, this presents a tremendous, not problem, but just a tremendous challenge for us. But every week does in the NFL. That's why it's such a great league to be in. But we've got significant challenges this week, and we expect our coaching staff and players to rise up to meet the challenge.
Because when you played Denver the first time, you were looking at it from a different avenue as a position coach. A fresh look, I guess, on this defense as you look at tape. Does that bring maybe a fresh approach as you play the Broncos for a second time?
Well, I think everyone sees the game differently, to your point. And so, it was only 3 games ago for them, and obviously they've had a bye, so they've only played 2 games since. So we've got a pretty good idea a little bit in terms of looking at their tendencies. And I've been in the division. I've seen a lot of these players, really. So, but it does help that we played them before, and we've got a lot of things that we got to clean up, not only against Denver, but the rest of the schedule in terms of what we're doing on third downs.
It's not an excuse, it's the reality of the NFL. You just can't turn the entire ship in a week when you have 3 practices. But how much do you like, okay, each week I can implement a little bit more of my stamp on this offense?
Yeah, that's the plan going forward, and again, it wasn't our offense, I guess, so I'll continue to kind of do the things that I feel real comfortable with and the things that I've done in the past, and as well as implement some of the things that we've had here. Fortunately, I've got, a strong staff, and so the guys have been great in the staff room in terms of, suggestions and ideas and whatnot. So, we'll look at changing a little bit each week.
In the past here, guys have really complimented you, Greg, on you listen to players. What are you comfortable with? How much interaction are you, this time around, are you talking with them about what they're comfortable with, what they like, what they feel productive about? How much is that part of still who you are?
Well, that is definitely who I am, and it starts in the quarterback room and making sure that our quarterback's comfortable with what the plan is. And so, fortunately, again, I've had a relationship with Gino before and developed that relationship with the other guys in the room. So it starts in that room, but then I think, again, having clear communication with the other position coaches and position players helps in that aspect.
In your previous tenures here, you've helped game plan with a lot of really great tight ends that you've had in the building. Now with Brock Bowers, how much of a fun challenge is it to be able to game plan for a guy that's usually getting doubled on every play or even, singled or manned by the top corner on the team?
Yeah, great player, obviously, and we'll do what we can to try and get him the football. That's what you always do with your great players, whether they're tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. So we're going to continue to find ways to make sure that we're targeting Brock and that, knowing where he's at in the progression and making sure the quarterbacks are aware of the coverages and how they're covering him throughout the game. I think that's important too, whether it be third downs or normal down and distance. You just got to know where he's at, and we try to put him in a position to where he's in Gino's vision.
What goes into the decision-making process for making Aiden inactive and Pickett 2 or flipping them on game day? Where do you guys make that decision?
Yeah, we make it throughout the week. Again, a lot of factors play into that. But we're constantly evaluating that position as well as far as who will be up on game day.
Good.
Yep. Thanks, guys.